My name is Stella. I am standing in a glass elevator in the tallest building in the city. It is going up to the 50th floor. I am wearing a sharp, expensive suit, but inside my leather bag, I am carrying something old. It is my old, gray wool coat, the one I wore 5 years ago. I keep it because it reminds me of where I came from. The elevator stops at the 20th floor. The doors slide open. A man walks in. He looks tired. His suit is cheap and wrinkled. He is holding a folder of papers. He is nervous. He does not look at me. I know him immediately. My heart beats fast, but I remain calm. It is Mark, my ex-husband. He looks older. He has gray hair near his temples. He is here for a junior-level job interview. He does not know that I am the CEO of this company. He does not recognize me. How could he? 5 years ago, I was just a housewife. I was boring. Today, I am the boss. I remember that night 5 years ago. It was raining. It was a cold, dark November night. Mark was angry. He was throwing my clothes into the hallway. "Get out, Stella," he shouted. "You are useless. You are poor, you have no job, and you are just a weight on my back. I want a new life without you." I stood in the rain. I had no money. I had no keys. I had only that old gray coat. The door locked behind me with a loud click. That sound changed my life. I was a stranger in my own city. I was alone. That night, I walked for hours. My feet hurt. My head hurt. I felt small. I went to a cheap motel near the bus station. The room was small and dirty. It smelled like dust. I cried until the sun came up, but when the sun rose, something changed in my heart. I was not a victim anymore. I was a survivor. The next day, I walked into a small bakery. A sign on the window said, "Help wanted." I went inside. The manager, a kind woman named Mrs. Rose, looked at me. "Can you clean?" she asked. "I can do anything," I said. My voice was shaking, but I was serious. I started as a dishwasher. The work was hard. My hands were red and dry. I worked 10 hours a day, but I was not just cleaning dishes. I was watching. I watched how the bakery worked. I watched how they managed the money. I watched how they served the customers. Every evening after work, I went to the public library. I borrowed books. I read about business. I read about finance. I learned to use the computer. I learned how to talk to people with confidence. One day, Mrs. Rose asked me, "Stella, why do you work so hard?" "Because I want to be free," I answered. A year later, I had saved enough money to leave the motel. I rented a small apartment. It was tiny, but it was mine. I bought a new dress. I changed my hair. I started to believe that I was not boring. I was talented. I was smart. I applied for a job as an assistant in a big marketing firm. They liked my energy. I worked twice as hard as everyone else. I never said, "I cannot." I always said, "I will learn." 3 years passed. I became a manager, then a director, and finally, the owners of the company retired. They chose me to be the CEO. I worked day and night to build this success. I proved to everyone, and mostly to myself, that I was not useless. The elevator doors opened on the 50th floor. I stepped out, and Mark followed me. He was still looking at the floor. He did not know that this was my floor. He did not know that this office belonged to me. He thought he was here for a simple job interview with a human resources manager. He had no idea that I was the CEO. I walked to my office. My assistant stood up. "Good morning, Ms. Miller," she said. Mark stopped walking. He looked up. He heard my name. He saw me standing behind the large mahogany desk. His eyes widened. He looked at the walls, the view of the city, and then back at me. He was pale. He could not speak. "Please, have a seat, Mark," I said. My voice was calm and professional. I sat in my leather chair. I felt strong. I did not feel the pain of the past anymore. I felt pity. Mark sat down. He looked at his dirty shoes. "Stella," he whispered, "is it really you? I heard someone named Stella Miller was the CEO, but I did not believe it." "It is me, Mark," I replied. He started to talk, and his story was a sad one. After he kicked me out, he married the woman he had chosen over me. But she was not who he thought she was. She was selfish. She spent all his money. She sold his car. When he lost his job and had no money left, she left him. He had lost the house, he had lost his friends, and he had lost his dignity. He had nothing. He had come here to my company as a last attempt to survive. "Stella, I am so sorry," he said, and his voice cracked. "I was a fool. You were the best thing in my life. I miss the home you made. I miss your care. Can you give me a job? Anything, please. I am desperate." I looked at him. I remembered the rain. I remembered the cold. I remembered how he laughed behind the locked door. I looked at my leather bag, where my old gray coat was still tucked away. That coat was a part of my history, but it was not my future. "Mark," I said slowly, "do you remember the night you threw me out into the rain? You said I was boring. You said I was useless. You said I was a weight on your back." He lowered his head. "I was wrong, Stella. Please, forgive me." "I forgave you a long time ago," I said. "Not for you, but for myself. I needed to let go of the anger to move forward, but forgiveness does not mean I go back to the past." I stood up and walked to the window. I looked at the city lights. "You came here because you thought I was still that quiet housewife. You thought I would feel sorry for you and give you a second chance. But I am not that woman anymore. I built this life with my own hands. I learned, I worked, and I succeeded." I turned to look at him. He looked so small in the big office. "I cannot give you a job here, Mark. You are not qualified for the positions we have, and I do not mix my professional life with my past mistakes." He stood up, his shoulders slumped. He looked defeated. "So that is it? You will just let me go?" "I am giving you the same chance I had 5 years ago," I said. "You have your health, you have your freedom. Go out there and find your own way. It will be hard, it will be cold. You will be scared. But if you are strong, you will survive." I reached into my bag and pulled out a small envelope. I had placed some money inside. Not a fortune, just enough for him to get a room for a week and a hot meal. "Take this. Use it wisely. Start your own life, but do it without looking back at me." Mark took the envelope. He looked at me one last time, his eyes full of regret. "You are not the same, Stella," he said. "No," I replied. "I am much stronger." He turned and walked out of my office. I watched him go until the door closed. I felt no hate. I felt no love. I felt only peace. I sat back down at my desk and opened my laptop. I had a company to run. I had new goals to reach. The rain started to fall outside. It hit the window with a soft sound. I looked at the rain, and I smiled. It didn't feel cold anymore. It felt like a reminder of how far I had come. I picked up my pen and went back to work. I was Stella Miller, and I had everything I ever wanted. I had myself. Mark took a step forward, his hands trembling. He looked at the expensive paintings on the walls, then back at the desk. He was not looking at a secretary or a stranger. He was looking at the woman he had discarded like trash 5 years ago. Stella, he whispered again, his voice cracking. He reached out as if to touch the desk, but stopped when I stood up. My height, my posture, the way I held my head high, it was all new to him. How is this possible? You were just a housewife. You didn't know anything about the world. I stepped out from behind the mahogany desk. My movements were slow and deliberate. I wore my confidence like armor. You are right, Mark. 5 years ago, I didn't know the world, but you gave me the best lesson of my life. You taught me exactly who I did not want to be. And you taught me what happens when you let someone else control your worth. Mark's face turned from pale to a deep, embarrassed red. He looked down at his shoes again, unable to meet my eyes. I was wrong, he said, his voice now pleading. I was stupid, Stella. I was blinded by my own ego. Look at me. I have lost everything. Everything. I have been living in my car for weeks. Please, I am begging you. Can we just go back to how it was? Let me work here. Let me be by your side again. We can start over. I listened to him, but I felt nothing. No anger, no desire for revenge, no sadness. It was like listening to a stranger tell a boring story. I walked closer to him, and he took a step back, sensing my strength. Go back to how it was? I asked, my voice cold and steady. Do you remember the night you locked the door? Do you remember the rain? I do, he cried. I think about it every single day. I regret it every second. You regret it because you are cold and hungry now, I said. You don't regret hurting me, you regret that I am no longer there to serve you. You want a servant, Mark, not a wife. And I am not a servant. I am a leader. Please, Stella, he sobbed, his pride completely shattered. I have no one. I have nowhere to go. Just give me one chance. I will do anything you say. I will be your assistant, your driver, anything. Please, just don't turn me away. I looked at him, a man who once thought he was a king, now reduced to nothing because he could not handle a life without someone to control. The contrast was clear. He had built his life on dominance and cruelty, and it had crumbled. I had built mine on resilience and hard work, and it stood tall. Mark, look at me, I said, my voice sharp. He looked up, his eyes glassy with tears. You are not here to ask for forgiveness. You are here because you are scared. You are looking for a safety net, and you chose me because you thought I was still weak. But you are wrong. I am the last person in this world who will ever let you control them again. I am not asking for control, he shouted, his voice desperate. I am asking for mercy. And I have shown you mercy by listening to you, I replied. But that is where it ends. You have your youth, you have your hands, and you have your mind. You have the same tools I had when I stood in the rain that night. Use them. If you are truly sorry, you will go out there and build something of your own, just like I did. I walked back to my desk and sat down, signaling that the conversation was over. Leave, Mark. Do not come back here. He stood frozen for a moment, waiting for a miracle. But there was none. He realized then that the woman he had kicked out was gone forever. There was no Stella left to cook his dinner or wash his clothes. There was only a CEO, and she was not hiring people like him. He turned, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs, and walked toward the door. Every step he took was heavy with the weight of his own choices. When the door clicked shut behind him, the office was silent again, and for the first time in 5 years, the past felt completely closed. The silence in my office was heavy. I looked at the closed door. I felt a strange sense of freedom. I stood up and walked to the mirror in the corner of my office. I saw a successful woman. I saw a leader. I saw a survivor. 5 years ago, I was a nobody. Today, I am a leader. I was a victim, but now I am a survivor. I took my old, gray coat out of my bag. I touched the fabric. It was still the same old coat. But I was not the same woman. I held it for a moment, then I put it back. It was part of my story, but it was not my life anymore. Success is the best revenge. I did not need to hurt Mark. His own choices hurt him enough. My success was the proof that I was always worth more than he told me. I walked out of my office. I walked through the busy hallway. People looked at me with respect. I was not the shy, quiet housewife. I was Stella Miller. I reached the elevator. I pressed the button for the lobby. The ride down was fast. When the doors opened, I stepped into the bright, busy city street. I looked at the people walking by. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a struggle. Maybe you are in a hard place today. Maybe someone told you that you are a nobody. Please listen to me. Do not believe them. Determination is a powerful tool. When you work hard, you grow. When you believe in yourself, you change. I started to walk to my car. The sun was shining on the tall buildings. It was a beautiful day. I felt peace in my heart. I remembered the rain 5 years ago, but now I did not fear the rain. The rain is just water. It cannot stop a person with determination. It cannot stop a survivor. I unlocked my car and sat in the driver's seat. I looked at the building one last time. I was leaving the past behind. I had my career, I had my independence, and I had my pride. If you are listening to this story, remember, you are strong, you are capable, you can build your own life. Do not let anyone define your value. You are the architect of your own future. I started the engine and drove into the city. I was ready for tomorrow. I was ready for new challenges. I was ready for my life. The journey was long, but it was mine. And it was a beautiful journey. Thank you for listening to my story. Believe in yourself. Never stop. Keep moving forward. Your success is waiting for you, too.